Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile 1 discussion. So 3.26 is coming slowly to a close. We don't yet have a release date for 3.27, but it's probably the 31st of October now. What I want to do is go through some of the challenges that might cause you trouble when you're on your pathway to 36 challenges in this league. Now, I'm not going to be doing a full guide to every challenge. It's really too late for that. What I want to do is just provide some tips to people that are in my position. You're sitting on 30 at the moment because you've gone and played POE 2 for a bit, or you've gone and just done other things. You want to come back and finish them out. Now, there's a couple of different paths that you can take in order to complete these challenges. You can throw currency at them, or you can not throw currency at them. I have the capacity to throw currency at them, so I'm going to assume that you're not willing to throw 100 or more Divine Orbs at the one challenge that you can throw 100 or more Divine Orbs at. Now, firstly, if you are working your way towards 36 challenges in this league, but you're quite a bit behind where I am in the league, here's what you want to do. First things first, trade into a Headhunter. Headhunter has never been cheaper pretty much than it is this league. Headhunter is still as good as it normally is, and you can also get it, actually, by providing some of the materials that are needed for that super expensive challenge. So, we have the super expensive challenge, which is Revered Return. Most of the time, if you're watching this video, you probably don't want to do this, so don't start it. When I say don't start it, what I mean is don't do any of the Orbs of Remembrance, Unraveling, or Intention. Instead, sell them to other players. They're actually quite common drops, and they come from the new Pinnacle bosses that were added in 3.26. So what you want to do is farm as many Pinnacle boss invitations as you can early on, but then go and either sell the invitations or run the invitations and sell any of these orbs that you get onto other players that are looking to complete this challenge. Ideally, that would be someone who's rich and is going for 40 of 40 because they've got no choice. They can't skip this one, you can. That's going to get you a Headhunter. Headhunter is the highest value over replacement item that exists in the game under about 20 divines. And then Mageblood is the next upgrade after that. You probably don't need to go to Mageblood level, but if you do, then what you can do is complete all the other challenges using Mageblood, also sell your Headhunter while you're doing that, and then you can also at the end sell your Mageblood in order to fund doing Revered Return, if you want to do that, and that might end up being quicker. So that's the first tip. Another thing you want to keep in mind, there are a small number of points on the Atlas passive tree that are extremely good for getting more of these memory tear encounters. So, very top of the tree, you've got these 4 small points. These are incredibly strong. They'll make it so that on average, it'll only take about 14 maps rather than 20 in order to get yourself a new memory tear when you completed your previous one. On top of that, these 2 nodes, they're really good. Like, they feel like they're the power of a notable, probably even stronger than a notable, but they're just normal nodes, so keep that in mind. The other thing that's worth knowing is that one of the 3 incarnations is worth more to fight than the other 2. That is the Incarnation of Dread. So, if you're just looking to generate a bunch of currency, then what you want to do is run tier 16 maps as fast as you can with Remembered Kindness spect and also Educated Upbringing spect. When you do this, every memory tear that you come across will have 5 chances in 7 to be for the Incarnation of Dread. Now, there is a challenge that does require you to potentially unspec these nodes because you do need to do each of the incarnations a number of times. But for starters, Traumatic Experience off, the other 2 on. That's a really good starting point, and you can farm yourself a lot of currency quickly just by running a map that's easy to get to every single corner of the map. I personally would recommend Toxic Sewer here, but you can use Mesa if you prefer it. You can even use Mausoleum. Mausoleum's pretty good for this. Just anything where you can easily get to every single spot on the map, or at least very close to it, and then see where those memory tears have happened to spawn. The second thing, everything's pretty straightforward up to Peddler's Produce 2. Peddler's Produce 2 has the annoying Exalted Shard recipe. This has fallen off. People forget it exists because it was added to the game back in an earlier period of the game, back when Exalted Orbs were the metamod currency. Exalted Orbs aren't the metamod currency anymore. They're not super valuable like they used to be. They're still 48 times as rare as a Chaos Orb, but the days where they were 148 times as valuable as one are long gone. What this means is that going through all the nif-naf and trivia needed for the Exalted Shard recipe is not something that's important to people, and it's not something that's on most people's radar. Now, the recipe itself, it's not that well known anymore. It is that you vendor an item for every inventory slot, so that is 2 rings, 1 amulet, a belt, 1 2-handed weapon, or a 1-handed weapon and a shield, or various other combinations. Bows actually count as a 2-handed weapon for this, and then something for every armor slot on your character. Once you've got all of that together, it all needs to share the same influence. Now, what you want to do though is keep in mind the Peddler's Produce 2 pairs with Equipped Elites. Equipped Elites requires you to fill all equipment slots of a particular mercenary with influenced items. That's one of the options that you've got there. And it turns out that this is probably the 5th easiest of them to do. And so it's one you want to do. So the trick here, because Equipped Elites is more restrictive, there's various restrictions on what mercenaries can equip. You want to do Equipped Elites first and then use that set to then vendor it to get yourself the other challenge. Now, what you want to do in order to achieve this is farm the Shaper a few times. Why do I say the Shaper and not the Elder or Uber Shaper or the like? Well, if you can do the Uber Shaper, do the Uber Shaper instead. But if you can't do the Uber Shaper, or if doing the Uber Shaper is way slower than the regular Shaper, the advantage of the Shaper is that it's basically always profitable to run. No one wants to run that fight, at least for veteran players, because of all of the unskippable cutscenes in it. What that means, fewer people running it, means that there's actually more rewards for doing it. So, while you're doing this, pick up all of the influenced garbage items that drop. Then eventually you'll be able to combine them together into sets. Now the jewelry's easy in this case. Jewelry's normally limiting on the Exalt Shard recipe, but you'll get the jewelry easily. The problem is getting a set that a single mercenary can use. So, have a look for things that have a non-zero strength requirement. Pick up a strength merc. Also have a look at what types of weapons that mercenary can equip. Then get yourself a full set that fits that mercenary. Probably won't take all that long, but might be 5 or 6 Shaper runs and put it all together. Or you can throw some currency at this. Now, I mentioned Shaper, and you can do this with Elder as well, but the Exalted Orbs that are tied to those 2 bosses, they're pretty cheap. So, get yourself almost a full set, but you're 1 or 2 items short. At the end, just go to Faustus and trade into 2 Shaper's Exalted Orbs, or 3 Elder's Exalted Orbs, or whatever you need. You're not throwing a whole bunch of currency at it, but you will make the process a bit faster. So that's your fallback there. Now, with Equipped Elites, the other things you need to do, every slot is unique. That's pretty easy to do. Every slot is corrupted. That's just a Varlorb tax. Every slot is mirrored. We're going to skip. You can do this, but it's one of those things that only is really worth your while doing if you've got a whole bunch of strongbox strategies that you're running. And in that case, you'll occasionally get those strongboxes and mirrored things. That's a fine option. You can do it, but it requires a specific Atlas to work well. Fractured is the one that I think is going to be easier than mirrored here, and that's just because there's more sources of fractured items. Whatever you're running, you're probably getting some fractured items once every now and again. Just start stockpiling these until you've got a full set for Equipped Elites. It's a bit of a pain, but it's very doable. Also, Crafted. Crafted is free. Crafted is one of those ones that's a little bit of a hassle, but it's free. Synthesized and Split are also doable, but they're a bit more of a hassle. After this, we have Remarkable Realms. Complete 40 unique maps. This one is really easy if you got in early. This one is also more of a pain if you're doing it now. The best way to do this is probably to do Synthesis unique maps. Every set of 4 Synthesis unique maps that you do will have a reasonable chance of also giving you an extra Cortex, and then you can run that Cortex as well. Also, if you're doing Remarkable Realms via the Synthesis approach, you'll also get progress to the worst individual challenge that is on your pathway to 36, in my opinion, which we'll come to in a sec. So that was the Synthesis approach. What about the Kirak approach? If you have Kirak missions, and this will require setting up and running a fair number of maps while you've got an Atlas that has Kirak Sustain on it, then you probably can just trade into singular scouting reports instead. The reason that I don't recommend this as the first way to do this, though, is because these things, there's just not all that many of them on the market. When you look at this, you can see, oh, there's 62 of them at 2.5 chaos, there's another 20 at 3, there's 74 at 3.5 chaos, and then there's 234. But all you need to think of is, how many people does that allow to do this challenge? And the answer is less than 10. After that, you're jumping up to 55 of them for sale. That's another 2 people nearly that are covered. And then everything after that is going to be more expensive. Now, I don't think many people will mind if you're chasing 36 challenges, throwing 5 divines at a specific challenge. But there are going to be people who are also looking to get this one done that are capable of throwing a lot more than 5 divines at it. So it wouldn't surprise me if these end up getting quite a bit more expensive in the near future. Sanctified Scarabs I haven't done, but that's just laziness. Same with Cross-Contamination. They're both very, very easy ones. Right, I want to bundle together Assisted Atlas and Maniacal Magnitudes. Both of these require you to complete maps. Maniacal Magnitudes requires you to complete a lot more. That's because Assisted Atlas has the text tiers of maps. It is not 750 maps, it is 47 maps once you're doing tier 16s. Now, Maniacal Magnitudes is one where the harder you make your maps, the less maps you're going to need to do in order to complete it, but it's actually quickest to do with reasonably easy maps. And the best way to do either of these, if you find yourself stuck on them at the end, is to do one of two specific tile sets. The first one of these is Foundry, the second of them is Mesa. Both of these allow you to deterministically path to the map boss by running dead straight and never turning. As long as you do that, you'll find an entrance to the map boss's room, you go in, you'll slay the map boss, you'll get out, you go into a new map, you'll rinse and repeat. That is the way that you get this one done easiest, and it's up to you as to exactly how much juice you put on each map for purposes of Maniacal Magnitudes. I feel like for veteran players, the easiest way to do this is just to use 8 mod maps with all map mod effects on the tree, but for more casual players, it's probably not going to be to go quite that hard. It's going to be to ditch the map modifier effect, and then to go with 8 mod maps while available for Foundry or for Mesa, and for fewer mods when required to, because you just don't have access to the 8 mod maps. That's going to be a path of least resistance to doing this. Remember, you probably want to leave this until you've got your Headhunter, and your Headhunter will hard carry you through these. You'll just kill the monsters that are on the way, and then when you get to the map boss, you'll have a few Headhunter buffs, so it won't be everything you could possibly get, but it'll be a few, and it'll make things a lot easier. In between these, we also have Formidable Fights. Now, this is not one of those challenges where the 4 options are made equal. Delve bosses is going to take you a while to get done. Unless you enjoy Delve, I'd skip this one. Defeat the Syndicate Mastermind. This one is throwing your currency into the hands of RNG. The Syndicate Mastermind is an extremely lucrative fight if you happen to get lucky and get a Veiled Exalted Orb off her. If you don't get a Veiled Exalted Orb, you have thrown away a lot of currency with your attempt. This is the fastest way to do it if you're willing to throw currency at it, and there's a chance you'll get that currency back. However, you do need to prepare for the worst case scenario. What if you run the Mastermind 4 times and every single time you fail to get a Veiled Exalted Orb? Is that going to be ruinous? If the answer is yes, then do bestiary bosses instead. You can trade for bulk copies of these beasts and just pick up 20 of the Farrelled portal or pick up 20 of the Creacian portal, and then just go bang, 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 bang. Run them all back to back. Won't be very fun. You'll get nothing out of it except for dustable loot, but you will be able to just get them done. As for the Vaal Omnitect, no. Just no. This one takes way longer than everything else on this list. Even the Delve bosses can be done a lot quicker than 40 of the Vaal Omnitect. Honestly, even 10 of the Vaal Omnitect is going to take you a little while. Doing 40, that's nightmare fuel. Elated Exaltation. Use a whole bunch of fancy Exalted Orbs. Don't do this by trading for them. They're all getting more expensive. Do this via Betrayal. Betrayal has all of these Exalted Orbs you could possibly want, are available on one of the benches. These are Haku in Research and Hillock in Fortification. Both of these will give you access to special Exalted Orbs. You can't take them with you, you can only use them while you're there. There's also Ashling in Fortification, and there is also Elrion in Research, although this one is definitely the worst of the lot. Recollections Realised is easy, but it has a very important piece of text on it. While they are at least rare, keep that one in mind. If your character is not strong yet, then put this one off until your character is stronger. That said, the character power requirements aren't very high. All you realistically need is either Headhunter or Mageblood, and you'll be carried easily by the belt alone. And so, for that purpose, all you need to do is just focus on getting yourself a Headhunter or a Mageblood as soon as possible. One of these is quicker to get than the other, and all you'll need to do is just get one of those currency items. Orb of Remembrance, Orb of Unraveling, Orb of Intention, and that'll pretty much trade you directly for a Headhunter. If you get more like 10 or 12 of them, you'll be able to trade them for a Mageblood instead. Eldritch Expedition. This one is hugely grindy. This one takes a long time, 333 Eldritch Altars. Start on this one now so that you get it done. Infamous Instigators, and there is also a similar one later. These are just RNG. What you want to do is run maps that are high tier, which you're probably already doing anyway. Blitz through to the Mercenary, kill the Mercenary if they're infamous. And also, if you are not certain that you are already at the top level of infamy, then also kill any mercenary. Know that this challenge requires you just to defeat the mercenaries. There is another one that requires you to seize the specific items that they've got. However, that one's going to be one that you'll complete really quickly because it only requires you to do 5 different item slots. Okay, Strenuous Summons. This is the worst challenge on your pathway to 36. You might skip this. It's up to you. 250 modifiers on invitations. Now, this can be any of the Maven 4-ways, including the Feared, technically a 5-way. It can be Maven 10-ways, or it can be the Infinite Hunger Invitation, Black Star Invitation, the Searing Exarch, and the Eater of Worlds invitations. Those ones are not the Uber versions of them. Now, these need to then be rolled and potentially also exalted out. So this is where there is a fork in the road. On the one hand, you have the people who do this by themselves. They have no access to the shortcut for this challenge that is group play. On the other hand, you have the people who are playing in Trade League. Those people are able to get a group of people to each prepare a few of these invitations back to back. So maybe I go and I trade for a Black Star invite, a Infinite Hunger invite, and I also prepare a Maven's Invitation, the Forgotten, and a Maven's Invitation, the Feared. While I'm doing that, you go and you set up the Hidden, the Formed, the Twisted, and the Feared. Then we go and we run my 4 invitations and your 4 invitations back to back. Now, if you do this in an ad hoc group, the standard etiquette is that the person that creates the invitation, they are the owner of any special loot that happens to drop in there. The last 3 on the list are ones that require a lot of character power. You know how I said that getting a Headhunter is your path of least resistance and then potentially upgrading it to a Mageblood? The reason is because of these challenges. Endgame Enigmas requires you to defeat 30 tier 17 map bosses. Now, if your build works well with Headhunter, really well, then Headhunter is going to be the way to do this rather than Mageblood. You just want to kill half the map, get to the map boss, go into the map boss's room, and ride those Headhunter buffs to victory. If your build doesn't work that well with Headhunter, it does vary a bit, then Mageblood is going to be on your path of least resistance here as well. Key thing to keep in mind, people that are running tier 17s because they want as much loot as possible, they're using Atlas choices that make the maps harder and give more loot. You want to do the opposite. You want to make the maps easier or at least no harder. So you don't want to be scaling map mod effect. Map mod effect is extremely dangerous. It will get you a lot more loot, but that's not your goal here. So turn it off for these. Powerful Pursuits is next. This requires you to kill uber pinnacle bosses. Mageblood is the path of least resistance if you want to do this by yourself. If you're not ashamed to ask for help with it, then there's players that will sell carries to this. There's a couple of places those are organized. In-game Trade Channel 820 is one good option there. After that, we hit Grinding Gear Goals. Grinding Gear Goals requires you to pick 4 of 6 different objectives. Now, these are not equal to each other. You will definitely get 1,000 map tiers. That one's basically free. Tier 14 or higher maps completed with mercenaries. You only need 100 of these. This one is also free because chances are you're having a mercenary with you because they make you much more powerful. If you do find yourself in a situation where you've ignored that one, then you can always go and do those Mesa or Foundry shenanigans we talked about earlier. Then we have 50 Atlas mini-boss maps. Note that these require at least 80% item quantity. This requires a little bit of effort to get that to there. It's not a lot. You don't need to be running these giga juiced or anything like it, but definitely throw chisels on them. You'll get there with most 4 mod maps and all 5 or 6 mod maps, as well as all 8 mod maps. After that, you've got to pick one that is horrible. 30 Uber Pinnacle bosses, you know whether that's easy or not on your build. Use the Divine Font in the endgame Labyrinth. Ouch, this one is pain. The Labyrinth is in that awful place where it's too easy to be engaging, but it's also not completely brain-off content. You do need to pay a little bit of attention to it. Additionally, the Gift to the Goddess, a special lab access token that allows you 6 accesses to the Divine Font. This thing has gone up in price a lot in recent days as more and more people chase down their final challenge. And finally, reach level 100. This just requires the discipline to play less recklessly than I do and to keep it up for a long period of time. Alternately, again, there are power leveling services in the domain of timeless conflict that exist. That's an option that you can go into, but that is going to hemorrhage divine orbs to do it that way. So those are your options there. Uber Pinnacle bosses, definitely the quickest of these if you can beat them. Divine Font, probably the quickest of these if you can't do the Uber Pinnacle bosses, but it's also definitely the least fun. And then reaching level 100 is just a matter of having the discipline to not juice your maps for a while. If you don't juice maps, then you'll reach level 100 reasonably quickly, but it's also not going to be fun. Now, if you're playing in solo self-found and you don't have a strong bossing character, these are likely to be ones you'll skip. So you'll end up skipping Grinding Gear Goals, Powerful Pursuits, Endgame Enigmas, and Strenuous Summons, or potentially you would skip Revered Return and do one of these. If you're playing in Trade League though, there are people who will carry you through these challenges, and then that will allow you to skip something somewhere else. The drawback to carry services, of course, is that they're going to want something in exchange for it. They're going to want a bunch of currency, and we're currently in a league where currency just doesn't have very much buying power. So they're going to be wanting quite a bit out of you. Ultimately, the more of the RNG things that you get done, like Infamous Instigators, then the less of these you're going to have problems with. I'm going to leave it there. May your Val Orbs have interesting results.